Pathos is emotion. It's helpful to appeal to emotions. You want to help your audience to feel the problem to be more effective. Cognitive dissonance occurs when you are presented with information that is inconsistent with your current attitudes, beliefs, values, needs, and feelings. The definition of cognitive dissonance is the sense of mental disorganization or imbalance that may prompt a person to change new information when new information conflicts with previously organized thought patterns. We've discussed problem and solution, we've discussed cause and effect, but we hadn't discussed refutation. Refutation is organization according to objections your listeners may have to your ideas and arguments. Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Abraham Maslow's hierarchy of needs suggests that humans have 5 levels of needs and that lower level needs must be met before people can be concerned about higher level needs. One practical application for the persuasive speaker is to do everything in your power to assure that your audience's physiological needs are met. Another way to apply Maslow's hierarchy of needs is to appeal to your audience members' basic needs for safety. Positive appeals are verbal messages promising that good things will happen if the speaker's advice is followed. Fear appeals are exactly the opposite. If you don't do this, then awful things will happen. Research suggests that to make fear more effective as a motivator, make a strong threat to a family member or someone who members of the audience care about will often be more successful than a fear appeal that is directed to the audience members themselves. The more respected the speaker, the greater the likelihood that the appeal to fear will work. Fear appeals are more successful if you convince your audience that the threat is real and will affect them unless they take immediate action. Increasing the intensity of fear appeal increases the likelihood that the fear appeal will be effective. This is especially true if the listener can take action the persuader is suggesting. Some example of positive appeals would be appeals to values. Americans tend to value comfortable, healthy lifestyles, successful goals, peace, happiness, and contentment. Here are some tips on the use of emotion. Use emotion-arousing words. Use concrete illustrations and descriptions to create emotional images. If possible, use visual aids to provoke positive and negative emotions. Be ethical. Avoid false claims, misuse of evidence or images, or exclusive emotional appeal dependence. The elaboration likelihood model suggests that people can be persuaded directly and indirectly. The less audience involvement, the higher the likelihood that you will be persuaded by indirect persuasion attempts. This is a great explanation for why bad advertising sometimes works, because we aren't paying attention. When we don't pay attention and we're not involved with the message, less and weaker arguments are more persuasive. Those indirect arguments become more effective. Based on your audience analysis, determine if your audience is receptive, neutral, or unreceptive. If your audience is receptive, identify with your audience, emphasize common interests, provide a clear objective, tell your listeners what you want them to do, and appropriately use emotional appeals. If your audience is neutral, gain and maintain your audience's attention, refer to beliefs and concerns that are important to listeners, show how your topic affects people your listeners care about, and be realistic about what you can accomplish. If your audience is unreceptive, don't tell listeners that you're going to try to convince them to support your position. Present your strongest arguments first, acknowledge opposing points of view, and don't expect a major shift in attitudes or behavior. A motivated sequence is Alan H. Monroe's 5-step plan for organizing persuasive messages. It includes attention, need, satisfaction, visualization, and action. An example of attention in the context of the motivated sequence is an apple a day keeps the doctor busy. What has happened to the old adage? Why has it changed? An example for need is pesticides are poisoning our fresh fruits and vegetables. An example for satisfaction is growers must seek environmentally friendly alternatives to pesticides. An example for visualization is Remember the apple poisoned by Snow White's wicked stepmother? You may be feeding such apples to your own children. An example for action is buy fruits and vegetables raised organically. The visualization step is a word picture of the future. There are positive visualizations and negative visualizations. A positive visualization is a word picture of how much better things will be if the solution you're proposing is implemented. A negative visualization is a word picture of how much worse things will be if your solution is not implemented. In other words, a fear appeal. We discussed what is persuasion, how to use ethos or credibility to persuade, to use logos or logic to persuade, to use pathos or emotions to persuade, and how to adapt messages to audiences.